There were many powerful and moving speeches during yesterday's 50th anniversary of the March on Washington, but there was one courageous woman who spoke very briefly yesterday, but her few words said what everyone gathered on the National Mall already knew and had come there to honor.
Trayvon Martin was my son, but he's not just my son. He's all of our son, and we have to fight for our children.
I am pleased to welcome Sybrina Fulton, the mother of Trayvon Martin, and her attorney, Benjamin Crump. It's so nice to have you both here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have been following the work that you have been doing since you lost your son, and at every point have been humbled by that work. Tell me at this moment what you feel like is the most important thing that you can do and that those of us who have been so inspired by you can do to honor Trayvon's memory.
I think the most important thing that I can do is to continue to fight and just be realistic and not expect things to happen overnight. It took a long time for everything to occur, so it's going to take just that time to try to get things on the right track. And I'm giving my commitment not to give up until I'm resting in my grave. I will fight for my son. I will fight for other people's children, because it's very important that we stick together, that we unite and we fight. The other thing, question that you had was, what can other people do? I would also tell them not to give up. Don't be discouraged, because sometimes how things look in front of you, it's a little gray and you get discouraged and you might want to give up. Don't give up. Just continue to take little steps. Continue to take little steps and just be persistent.
That was a theme a lot of folks, maybe because we were 50 years after the march, kept saying yesterday, many of the speakers, I'm not tired. I'm not going to be turned around. And yet it must be exhausting, the trial, the loss of your son, the trial, the outcome, the media of it all. Is there a way to restore yourself in the midst of doing the work, to say I'm not tired, to keep moving, but also to take strength from some other place?
Well, I have a strong faith in God, and that helps a great deal. God is first in my life, and I would tell anybody, I would tell any show, because that's very important to me. I don't want people to think that I'm doing this by myself, that I'm just this super person, this super woman, and I just have the strength of 10 women. That's not the case. The case is I pull my strength from God. That's first and foremost. The second thing I would say is it helps to know that I'm not standing by myself, that I'm not the only one that's fighting for our children. So when other mothers come up to me, when other fathers and grandfathers and aunts and uncles and cousins come up to me and say, listen, we have to keep fighting. We're standing with you. We're praying for you. We're supporting you. We're supporting the foundation. Things like that really help, and they really energize me. So that energy just keeps on rebuilding and keeps on rebuilding. I talked to Crump, and and I've said, I have two boys. I have two sons. One is in heaven and one is on earth, and I will continue to fight for both my boys, and I'm just adamant about it because I feel so strongly that we have to fight for our children.
That idea of taking strength from each other felt like such an important part of what was happening yesterday. The foundation, Trayvon's law, and as you were saying to me just before we came on air, this idea of voting, that Trayvon at 17 never had the opportunity to cast a vote. Tell me about those three things.
Yes, ma'am, Melissa, and our Sybrina apologized. She said no matter what yesterday, I was supposed to tell everybody at the March on Washington that we have to take the conversation that President Obama said, we have to take that conversation and move it to legislation. And that's so important because the Trayvon Martin Amendment to these Stand Your Ground laws and the passage of these anti-racial profiling laws are going to be germane to keeping our children safe. And so We got to get everybody in all these states across America to come out and vote in this midterm election. Trayvon could not vote.
Yeah.
The real question is, you who are 18 years old, will you vote? Will you be a Trayvon Martin voter? And that way, you think about Emmett Till. It took a decade after his death to get something, the Civil Rights Act of '64 passed. His mother knew his death was not in vain because of that positive from something negative. Sybrina and Tracy desperately want to know that Trayvon's death wasn't in vain. Let's pass the Trayvon Martin Amendment.
That language, will you be a Trayvon Martin voter? And we will take the conversation started by the president and move it to legislation. Of course, that only happens if you are a Trayvon Martin voter. If you, at 18, if you stand there and you vote where Trayvon could not vote. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here. And thank you for the ways in which your spirit and your faith give strength to so many of the rest of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sybrina Fulton and Benjamin Crump, thank you for being here.